Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of Cocktails with Conductors. It is the season finale of Cocktails with Conductors. I am Peter Wilson, the music director of the Richmond Philharmonic, and this is my great friend and colleague, the assistant conductor of the Richmond Philharmonic, Will Patty. Will, good evening.
Hey, Peter, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Hi, I know we may have a secret guest who may have already appeared already, but we're going to pretend it's still a secret.
That's right.
We're still going to keep it a secret, but while I take this moment to, while I take this moment, I'm going to let everyone know that we'd like to take a moment to thank some longtime supporters of the Richmond Philharmonic, as we always do. Thank you to the Virginia Museum of History and Culture for several years of support, the Virginia Department of Veterans Services for several years of support, to Town Bank for 15 years of support, and Vogue Flowers for over 30 years of support. If you'd like to make a donation to the Richmond Philharmonic, you can go to www.philharmonic.org to donate. And also, hey, everybody on Twitch and YouTube. Back to you, Peter.
So it's great to see you, Will. Thank you for being here as well. I can't believe this is our 14th episode. We've just had such a great season here. We're closing it out. Before I go any further, I want to say a big thank you to our vice president and our guru wizard behind the scenes, Jen Myers, who's just fantastic with all of the technical, things that are required here to get this, to keep this running. So thank you, Jen, for all that you do for the Richmond Philharmonic, in addition to playing the horn, of course, which we hope will be back in the fall in full capacity. As many of you know, we've been doing these Cocktails with Conductors shows in place of rehearsals on Monday nights because we haven't been able to meet during the pandemic. And of course, every so often, usually each week, but sometimes every other episode, we've had a special guest, and I just can't begin to tell you how excited I am about our final guest tonight. This is the Director of Orchestras at Northwestern University. He is also the Music Director Emeritus of the Omaha Symphony and the Honorary Director of Scotia Festival of Music. But most importantly, he is my most influential mentor, my greatest conductor, and I just learned so much from him. Please welcome Director Yampolsky.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. I just remember our very first days or months of years of our relationship, which were relationship of a student and a teacher. And for some unexplained reason, we became very close to one another. Because first of all, I wanted to pour anything I know into you because of your loud voice. He was always asking me a question. So I had two choices, either run away or answer. So I always answer all his questions. And then I wanted to spook him a couple of times. Yes. So I told him, Peter, I decided that you must play the Bernstein Serenades with me. You know that every university has competition in order to play with orchestra. But since I was not in a good relationship with my string faculty, I decided that it would be up to me who is going to play with my orchestra. And that person was Pete Wilson. So, but he also played Bruch too. I remember you playing Bruch. Remember that too?
I played Bruch with you with the North Suburban Orchestra.
North Suburban, yes.
Now, my favorite memory from my freshman year was talking about terrifying me. Right before we went to winter break.
Yeah.
You came to me and you said, "We are going to play Vivaldi concertos together for two violins.
Yes.
Your part, I will practice my part. You come back, we play together."
No,
And I've been desperately trying to find those recordings. I don't know if the Northwestern has archives of those, but
they
oh
do.
my goodness,
They
I
do
would
have,
love to
yes.
hear those.
It is a long process because all of the warehouses are now actually in the state of Wisconsin. They're not even in Illinois. Well, it's not far away from Evanston, but it's a different warehouse.
Wow.
Now there were some other beautiful things. Remember, it's an idea of auditioning for a sitting in the orchestra. And one time the violin players had to play a big few grosse Fuge by Beethoven, arranged by Felix Weingartner. And so they all came one by one and played, but Peter came out and he didn't use score. He just, he played excerpts from the first violin. And then when excerpts were over and I said, thank you, Peter, very much. Suddenly he said, you want second violin too?
Well, to be fair, I was a sophomore, I think, because I came in the freshman year and I played Midsummer Night's Dream. I think
Yeah.
we had to do those, and I had those memorized. But then the sophomore year is when you did Grosse Fuge, and I was only supposed to learn the second violin part.
Uh-huh.
But I
Oh,
learned
yeah.
the first violin part because my mother said, well, do you want a seat in the big orchestra or not? And so I
Yeah.
said, yes. He goes, then you learn both parts. And she made me memorize both parts.
But that, in over 40 years of teaching, I never seen anything like that.
Well, you apparently tell this story because I've had students come to me, who I've never met, and they find out that I studied with you, and then and then it's something comes up about it, and they're like, wait a minute, are you the guy that played for memory your audition? It's like, how do you know this? And apparently
Yes.
you
Yes.
use this you frighten students with this story, I think.
Well, there was another one which is really very touching, and that was in your final year when you asked me if I could elect you to be a concertmaster. And I said, of course. Remember that? Yeah. What did we do?
Well, well, the story there is that you had punished me up to that point, that particular year, because this was the only year, my
Yeah.
senior year, that I came in and I didn't memorize my excerpts. And because you said that I had raised the bar so high for myself,
Yeah.
I had disappointed you. Even though I thought I played well, you put me lower in the orchestra in the first violin section. I think you put me sixth chair, and this, my junior year, I had made it up to concertmaster, and I sat there for the longest time. And then one concert went, and then we went to the next concert, and I still didn't move up. And finally, I just got up the nerve. And this taught me a great lesson. You taught me a great lesson, which is that, and I felt like I worked hard for you, that I, came to rehearsals early. I was always prepared. I didn't talk back. I was always, good attitude. And I was still sitting there and I couldn't understand what was happening. So I asked you if I could meet with you after rehearsal. And when I went in, I said, all of these things. And you said, I wondered when you were coming to talk to me. Like, what was it going to take to make Peter come in and talk to me? And I thought, my gosh, because my father raised me to never question authority, never to, he put you there for a reason, just sit there. And I just wanted a reason. And you said, well, I was disappointed by your audition. I thought you didn't care anymore. And now that you've come in to speak to me, I know that you care. And then you said, what do you want? And I said, well, I'd like to play concertmaster for Mahler 3, if you don't mind.
Exactly.
You said, all right then.
Mahler 3. For Mahler 3, that's right. Yes.
Okay, so before we go any further, we're, of course, because you're here, we're honoring you with a Russian theme.
Yes.
We are using vodka. And
Yes.
so Will is going to start, and he's going to make there we are, some absolute vodka. And Will is going to start with his cocktail. Will, tell us what you're going to make for us today.
I'm making the 4 Aces, and this is the only cocktail this year I think I've used where I get to muddle something, and I'm muddling 6 grapes. I get to muddle them, which is really fun. And if you're interested in bar equipment, I have found a spoon that is a flat-ended spoon that you can use for a few different things. It's got a swizzle on it, And actually what you're supposed to do is if you're layering cocktails, you're supposed to pour liquor so that it hugs the swivel and then slowly drips down the flat side so it doesn't crash land into the surface of the drink. But you can also use it for muddling a little bit, which I'm trying to do now. And muddling grapes.
That's an
It's a little hard.
interesting ingredient to muddle. Normally we see things that are muddled like but mint is often muddled at the bottom of a drink, like a mojito.
Yeah, mint or other citruses, like a slice of orange can be muddled, or cherry.
Right, or lime
So
or
I've
lemon.
muddled.
I've never seen a...
And my cocktail also uses fresh basil. So I'm going to be putting torn basil into this as well. So grapes and basil. I know might be moving pretty far away from Russian cuisine here. Victor, I'm not really sure if basil makes an appearance so much.
Yes, it is okay.
Good.
Yes, it's okay. Well, it's something you have to purchase in the market, but it is possible. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I tried to find something that I like to combine some different ingredients now and then. And then I'm also using some ginger liqueur as well.
Nice.
Which is a natural sweetness to it. And how much of this? Yes, it's a half ounce. And we had our very first gathering this weekend of friends, and we ran out of simple syrup. So I'm going to be adding just a little bit of agave, which I like using to sweeten because it's rather thin. It's not as thick as honey, and it can actually be mixed pretty well in the cocktails. Just a little bit of sweetener there. And then I get to shake it all with ice.
And what kind of vodka are you using?
I am using Kettle One, which is the vodka that I had on hand.
Very good. I like Kettle One.
Thank you. I think it's Finnish though, yes? I'm not exactly sure. Or French, I'm not exactly sure.
As I watch Will making his cocktail, I got to picture him being in Moscow, trying to do the same mixing of cocktails. And it suddenly occurred to me, that by the time he's making his cocktail, the rest of us would be already under the table drunk.
From all the vodka shots?
Because who is waiting for a cocktail?
I love it. Oh my goodness. Well,
you saved the best guest for last.
I did, didn't I? Well, I have to say that, I went to my brother, because he lives with a Russian woman, Vika, and I said to both of them, okay, I want this to be special. I want the best Russian cocktail that you know. What is it going to be? And the response was, Vika just laughed. She said, there is only one answer to your question. Vodka shot, chilled, straight up. You can have a dill pickle and black Russian bread as a chaser, but otherwise it is not authentic. So I thought, well,
there it is.
Okay, there it is. Then I'm going to have to go that direction.
You see?
I got this so far, and then I'm going to fill it up with a little bit of soda water. And I'm going to garnish. You can have another vodka shot while you're waiting. And then I'm going to garnish with an extra basil leaf. And this cocktail calls for a straw to be used. So here we go. The 4 aces.
Fantastic.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, next is our cocktail, Victor, together.
Yes.
And I bought this new bottle. Can you tell me what this says?
It says Russian Standard Platinum, Русский стандарт.
Okay.
Yes.
And I put this in the freezer last night.
Exactly.
So it's been melting here in front of me. And for you now, You showed before we started. Tell us about your glass.
Well, this is a Russian shot which has all the colors of Imperial Russia. It says Россия, you see?
Uh-huh.
I wonder if you could see it here.
Yes.
Yeah?
A little higher.
Is that better?
There's the Russian
Very
symbol.
nice.
Yep.
Yes,
Well-
Россия.
Well,
That is authentic. That's from Russia.
for you, I brought my presidential Camp David shot glass that I got from President Obama.
Oh,
So this is
wow.
for you.
Magnificent.
So here we go. And I can honestly say I've never had a vodka shot chilled like this. I've never done this before.
Well,
So
and
do we sip it? What are we doing?
okay, well, why don't you look at me first and
Okay,
then
you go first.
so I go first.
You go first.
Okay, Lucy.
Oh dear. Okay, my turn.
Done that before. Okay.
Beautiful,
Peter.
beautiful. And now,
Oh wow,
Mm.
that's really good.
Wonderful. Oh man.
Now, oh wait, you have to tell the viewers what I have here. I bought.
yes, he bought огурчики малосольные. Огурчики, it means pickles. Малосольные, it means they're not salty. They're a little salty, half salty. Yeah, but it is also from Russia.
So you are broadcasting from Canada.
Yeah.
And I am actually out in San Francisco, but I am in what's known as the Richmond District. And the nickname here is also Little Russia, because we actually have something like 10 Russian grocery stores here. So I just went down the hill very close to the ocean and I found this store and I went in there. You'll love this. I went to the woman at the counter, came up with the black bread here.
Yeah, I see ржаной, yeah, с медом. Oh, with honey.
Honey.
Oh,
Good. I know, right?
I
I got
see.
this right here, and I got the pickles, and then they didn't have the stoli that you would normally see that my brother mentioned, but they
Yeah.
had all of these other Russian
Yeah.
vodka. So I got that, and I went up and I told her the story. I said, my former professor is
Yeah.
Russian, and he told me this is what I had to get. And then at the end, she says, don't forget to drink the pickle juice.
Mm.
What is that? Is that
Pickle
also-
juice is a liquid from the same bottle.
Right. Right. But what's that? What does that? You do that at the end or what?
Well, at the end. Well, I actually departed from that because I have simply, it's called City Seltzer. It's it is from Macker Brewery. They also make beautiful seltzers, and they're in Ottawa, and I really like them a lot.
Okay, so now show us your bread plate.
My
had
bread
something-
plate.
You had something special
here.
there, right?
Yes.
You have cheese. Is this Swiss cheese?
Yes.
Oh,
Of course. Yeah.
that doesn't sound Russian.
Well, because I'm bourgeoisie, bourgeois.
Okay. Well, and you're also using Absolute vodka too. Which,
Nice.
and tell us about that. You said that there was once part of the Russian Federation. Is that right?
Absolute vodka is imported from Finland. But Finland, at the time of Russian Empire, was a part of Russian Empire. It was a province until revolution. And so Absolute vodka is, okay, actually, this one is product of Sweden, which is also great. And through the many, many years of trying and rehearsing how to drink vodka, I really became a serious student of Absolute.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm a serious student and I'm investigating this vodka for many years now.
now have you had Russian Standard, what I'm drinking?
Yes.
It's very good.
Yeah, yeah,
This is my first time.
yeah.
It's very good.
A
I
matter of
poured, I
fact-
poured a little more.
Yes. Well, wait. You can't drink alone.
Oh, so,
Oh,
No,
sorry.
because the Russians can only drink for a purpose. So, and I will tell you a story about the purpose. You see, the purpose is we need to raise a toast.
Hmm.
Okay. And so the second toast traditionally is for our women. And one time the Dean Dubrovsky invited me and Carol to a dinner with sponsors of Northwestern University School of Music. He invited us to a restaurant in Evanston called Oceanic,
okay.
French restaurant. And with all those blue-haired ladies, age 83 and on. And so we were sitting there, raising toasts. And I thought it's a good time for me to raise second toast for women. But I didn't really know how to say it. So I stood up and I said, this is a second toast I'm raising for beautiful sex. And so all those ladies and my wife, including, they almost went under the table.
Oh, boy.
And only after the dinner, we were walking to the car. And I said, Carol, what was so funny? I thought this is a very English. It's very proper. And she said, you're stupid. You're supposed to say fair sex. Fair. Okay? Fair. But what did I know? I'm not English. I'm not part of, Her Majesty Queen. How do I know?
Lost in translation.
So I look at all those 83 and up ladies, and I had this toast for beautiful sex.
You know what, Victor?
Can
From
we
now
drink for
on,
them? Yeah.
From now on, when I give a second toast, that's
Yeah.
what we're calling it. This story is priceless. Ladies and gentlemen, to beautiful sex.
I'm sorry,
Wow.
but listen, it's not a joke. I have so many stories like that.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's
Okay.
a thing of beauty. Wait, what was the first toast? What was our
First
first toast?
What first?
I don't think
Tonight,
we have
what
one.
was our first
Not an
toast?
official one.
To you. It was
Oh,
to you.
okay,
There you go.
fine.
Okay. To Mother Russia. Okay.
You know, my-
Okay, Victor. So we like to talk about, things that involve conducting or repertoire and things like that.
Just a second. I need.
Oh,
Okay.
I need a serviette. That's all.
oh, okay. I can't wait for the third toast, whatever that's going to be.
Okay,
So,
I'm listening now.
okay, so you've had such an amazing career, and you've told me the story about you defecting and playing for Zubin Mehta and then playing for Leonard Bernstein and him inviting you to Tanglewood. And I mean, it's just an amazing story. Because I was thinking because I've talked to you for years about various things, but one question that I thought of that I really love to know is, because of how many years that you've been conducting and the fact that you would have conducted hundreds, if not thousands, of different works over the many, many years, both for students and with professionals, I would imagine that you've had to revisit a lot of repertoire over the years. And I'm wondering a couple of things. One, are there pieces that you've revisited more than others? And were they for a particular reason? I mean, obviously you might have liked them, but do you always go back to certain pieces because, for example, students, there's something really special about this that students need to learn, that you have to put in that every 4 years, that sort of thing. But also, the real question that I have with regard to that is, have you found yourself changing your interpretation with those works as they've evolved over the years? And what perhaps is a work that you've had the biggest change of heart? Like you conducted it one way 40 years ago, and now you really see it differently and you conduct that different. I know that's a lot to manage in there, but if you could kind of discuss that sort of thing, revisiting music and interpretation.
Okay, I will start from the beginning of your question. Why would I go back to certain works? And the answer is that prior to step on the podium, I worked as a violinist for 7.5, 8 years as a violinist with the Moscow Philharmonic Orchestra under the direction of Kirill Kondrashin. So I started on the 7th, 5th stand, then on the 3rd, then on the 1st stand as associate concertmaster. And then I decided to go back to 3rd stand because my plans were go into conducting, and to seat number 2 with concertmaster would not allow me to do that, because our concertmaster used to take off to play solos without letting anybody know. See, because he was really a great violinist, Valentin Zhuk. And so he used to say, Vitya, I'm not here next week. So, and I desperately look, what are we playing next week? Oh my God, we're playing Shostakovich 6. There's a solo there, I hate it. Or we're playing symphonic dances by Rachmaninoff. So I got tired of this living on the edge all the time, because any day I could go to work and have to play solos. And so when the committee had to make up their mind whom to put as the chair number 2, the committee could not decide. It's between me and Emanuel Borak, who was concertmaster of Dallas Symphony for many, many years, who was my school friend. So they could not decide, and the committee was split. So the man came out to the corridor and said, Victor, we can't decide. Just tell us, do you really want that job on the 2nd stand? And I said, no, give it to Manny, because I am busy with the competition now for conductor. I was already assistant conductor. You see, I saw my role slightly differently. And I moved to the 3rd stand. But all in all, years of playing with the Moscow Philharmonic were the foundation for my conducting repertoire and interpretation, because it was mainly repertoire of Kirill Kondrashin, which we played many times. And I say many times because we were the 2nd most touring orchestra in the Soviet Union. The first one was the Soviet Union State Orchestra with Svetlanov, and the second one was us, Moscow Philharmonic with Kondrashin. So in 7 years, I toured over 30 countries around the world. And actually, because we played so many concerts, so many times, and on tour, we played what Kondrashin considered his repertoire. Wow. Now, if you look at the life in Moscow, the cultural life or symphonic life, there were always competition between Soviet Union State Orchestra with Svetlanov and Kondrashin. Competition and rivalry. And Svetlanov was a great, great musician, great conductor, and his specialty was Russia itself, Russian repertoire. Nobody could ever beat him when he conducted Poem of Ecstasy by Scriabin, or the Tchaikovsky whole repertoire, or Rachmaninoff, unbeatable. So Kondrashin never thought about competing with him. And so his repertoire was different. He conducted Stravinsky and Prokofiev and Shostakovich. And like nobody else, he conducted French music, and he brought to Russia, to Moscow, music of Gustav Mahler. Because so those things were not known for Soviet Union state. They didn't do that. That was Kondrashin who did that. And because of that, we played Petrushka entire ballet from the beginning to the end on every trip as the first half of the concert.
Wow.
Now, you know that Tchaikovsky, of course, we had to do Tchaikovsky, but Tchaikovsky's Symphony No. 5 was the most widely recognized and played, but Kondrashin would never touch the symphony. His favorite was 6, Pathetique. And on tour, it was actually not a good choice because of the last movement, which is a funeral, right, and farewell to life. But Kondrashin did not care. So imagine us playing Petrushka as a first half with a very soft pizzicato, because Petrushka gone and the sods are just falling out from his body. Then sods, you know, a puppet. And the second half is Farewell to Life by Tchaikovsky, second ending, second soft ending. And look at that, encore. His favorite encore was to conduct L'après-midi triomphant. And what ending is that? Very soft.
Soft ending.
But by doing that, he proclaimed himself as an ambassador of pure music. He didn't care for success. He didn't care for applause. He didn't care for public, you know, whatever. He had his own standing with the Ministry of Culture, his own standing. He was very independent. And once I was walking with him from conservatory to the Philharmonic, which was walking about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes through the boulevards in Moscow. So we were walking together. And I asked him, Kirill Petrovich, you see, in Russian, we have to use father's name in addition to his given name. And his father was Pyotr, so Kirill Petrovich, that I had to address him in a formal way. So I asked him, Kirill Petrovich, how come they hate you so much in the Ministry of Culture? Because he always had this sort of, like people talked about it all the time. He was not very much loved in Ministry of Culture.
Bad reputation.
Yeah, bad reputation. Okay. And he told me, it's an incredible phrase. He said, these people hate persons who make really good money doing an honest work. That's what he said. That's what he said. I'm not making it up.
Wow.
They hate people who make good money doing an honest work. That's what he said to me. Anyway.
Wasn't Mravinsky liked Tchaikovsky Fifth?
Yes,
right?
Well, Mravinsky was in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg, you can't really talk. If you are talking to me as a Muscovite, you cannot talk anything about Leningrad or St. Petersburg, because those two capital cities of Russia, at some point it was Moscow, then Peter the Great built St. Petersburg in his name, and he moved capital to St. Petersburg. But after revolution, the Soviets decided to move capital back to Moscow. And so we grew up with actually two capitals of Russia. And when you look from Moscow to St. Petersburg, what you see is Europe.
Mm.
When you look to Moscow from St. Petersburg, you see Asia.
Mm.
You see, because God knows who lived in Moscow, God knows who they were. You know, there was a 500 years of what we call Golden Orda, which was Mongolian occupation of Russia. And a third of Russian words which we use are actually Turkish. They are not really Russian, okay?
Huh.
No, they are, because they came from 500 years under Mongolians, okay? There are so many words. I could give you one word which called kaftan. Kaftan is what you call in English cloak. When you, like a dress, but it's not a jacket, it's lower, like a coat, right? But it's not for winter, which is very thickly done. It's a kaftan is your evening coat, but maybe for 5-6 buttons, right, to your knees. And that was very normal thing for men to wear for many, many years. But the word we use, kaftan, is Turkish. It's not Russian word at all. So if you look at Russian language, you will find incredible conglomerate of words from different languages. For example, I give you another one. The great Empress Catherine the Great was so enamored with Voltaire. She used to write letters to him in French, and she used to bring people from the French court to St. Petersburg. And it was very normal for the court to speak French. As a matter of fact, if you open very famous novels by Lev Tolstoy, one called War and Peace and Anna Karenina. So if you buy Russian edition, that's what we used to buy, right? Russian edition of this Anna Karenina. And you open and you see first 3 or 5 pages or all in French.
Wow.
Yeah, so you have to go to the end of the book to see what the hell are they talking about. Because what Tolstoy did, he depicted life of nobility, and they all spoke French to one another. And we have French words in Russian language in every day, starting with the word metro. What is metro? It's a metro. It's a subway, right? Is it Russian? No, it is not Russian. It's French. And we have so many of those, like languette. Languette is a dish which is like a thin beef steak, but it is French, from French cuisine. Beef steak, in Russian we say beef steaks. What? That's not Russian word at all. So many things came to Russian language from French cuisine.
Okay, so
Yeah.
here is to
Yeah.
all the other languages that contributed to the Russian language: Turkish, French, and
French and German, of course,
German.
too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, see, Russia was always sort of in between civilization of Europe and total wilderness of Asia. Because of Moscow was right there. So we used to call Moscow the capital, Asian capital of Soviet Union, and St. Petersburg was European. And so I'm just going to go back to the topic which you started, Peter.
Yes, let's get back to the repertoire.
Repertoire. So repertoire by repertoire of Kirill Kondrashin was so instilled in me, because before I opened any score, I played that 150 times. And when I started conducting and I started to teach conducting, at the beginning, I had very hard time remembering, do I know this piece as a violinist or as a conductor? because many pieces of music I knew by heart. As a matter of fact, my stand partner, my first stand partner in Moscow Philharmonic, was a sister of greatest Soviet cellist, Mstislav Rostropovich. His sister, Veronica, was my stand partner.
Wow.
But her main thing to do was to take a snooze. She used to sit and take a snooze. And but since I knew my parts by heart, just like my student Peter Wilson, I didn't bother to turn pages anyway. So we're playing the prelude to Meister Singer, okay? So I'm just soloing along all that. And at some point, suddenly Veronica would got up and start playing and starting to find on which line are we, but we are actually on the next page, and I didn't bother.
That's right.
I didn't bother to, and I'm playing. I'm just going along, and she can't find her place, and then I would stop and slowly turn the page for her, and with a finger, we are right here, madam, okay?
Wow. Did Rostropovich, did he ever circle back with you on that? Did he come back to discuss this practice with you, or was he concerned for his sister?
No, we never talked about his sister. You see, because Rostropovich, as a person, lived in a different world. He created his own world. He lived in his world. You see, I know it so well because my younger brother, Miron, who is 2 years younger than me, was Rostropovich's first cello student. Since
wow, I didn't know
yes,
that. I've met
yes,
his brother a few times. I've played with him.
yes, Mironchik. He was the first student whom Rostropovich gave cello from the day one.
Wow.
You see, and because of that relationship with Rostropovich, I knew him so well in many different capacities. Of course, he was a great cellist, and I played with him many, many times, also including tours to different countries.
Did your father play with Slava also?
Yes, but not very much, only on occasion, yeah, because Slava had his own accompanist. But
I see.
So my father played mainly with David Ostrach.
Right.
Anyway, but on tours, Ostrach and Rostropovich were our main soloists because they were really a summit of the performing arts in Russia. The third one was Richter, but with Richter it was always difficult because he was never in good mood and he was totally unpredictable. He always criticized himself terribly. And if you ever know the video, which called Enigma, it is a highly recommended video, documentary, 1 hour long. I have it right there in my, I have VHS of it, but it is available on YouTube. You could see that. Enigma, it's about Richter, and you could see him reflecting on his playing. And the most outstanding, I think, is when he was already quite old, and he was asked about his first tours to United States, playing in Carnegie Hall, playing in various cities in the United States. And you could see him saying, that was really bad. I didn't play well at all in Carnegie Hall. It was just bad. No. And the interviewer would say, Sviatoslav Teofilовich, but the reviews were great. You were proclaimed a legendary pianist. And he would say, well, I don't know what they found, but it wasn't very good, you know?
Wow.
Anyway, if we will talk about Richter, it could be a topic for another long conversation,
Okay.
but I could tell you very quickly because I cannot avoid this. You see the difference between Richter and anybody else whom I knew in Moscow. Number one, I don't think that Richter was ever a Soviet citizen because he never connected himself with Soviet Russia. He never did anything what Soviet Russia wanted him to do. Once there was a phone call from a local office of the Communist Party, and the man said, Sviatoslav Teofilevich, there is a big reception in the Kremlin, and you have to go and play something like the Rachmaninoff famous prelude, which made him very famous. You need to play for our Central Committee of Communist Party of Soviet Union. And Richter would say, I don't feel well, I don't play. And the man say, come on, Sviatoslav Teofilevich, just bring your violin and go to Kremlin. You see, the man didn't know that Richter never played one note on violin.
That's right. I was going to say, are we talking about the same person?
Yeah, just grab your violin and go. This is an order.
Wow.
So it's just a one very small, very miniature look at the society I lived in. Okay?
Right.
When men could say from the Central Committee of Communist Party, just grab your violin and go to Kremlin, play for our, you see?
Okay, so back to the repertoire that you have to revisit.
Yes, French repertoire, he loved. He loved conducting Daphne St. Chloe Suite No. 2. He loved to conduct La Valse. Many times we played that. He was not very keen on La Mer somehow, which unfortunately for him, Svetlanov did a lot better. And actually, when we came to New York for the first time, we lived in a hotel in New York for 2 weeks. And I think we gave something like 10 or 12 concerts in Carnegie Hall in 1965.
Wow.
And of course, in addition to Kondrashin, Svetlanov was our guest conductor. And the third guest conductor was David Oistra, who just started to conduct the orchestra. And he was also our soloist. What I do remember for the rest of my days, Don Quixote by Richard Strauss with Rostropovich. That playing and the whole piece all together, it stayed with me forever, as long as I live. I love Don Quixote. And I love Richard Strauss. He conducted so many times on Heldenleben, which we call Hero's Life, because Valentin Zhuk was such a great concert master. He loved that. So many times we did Mahler 1 or Shostakovich No. 4, never 5. He hated 5, you see, and from the first steps as a young conductor and a young player in the symphony orchestra, because I was in Moscow Philharmonic and because Kondrashin was the one who resurrected Fourth Symphony of Shostakovich from oblivion, because it was never performed, because Shostakovich removed all the sets of music from stands and burned it. Yeah, it was in the middle of rehearsals when he was called to the director of Leningrad Philharmonic. And that office I know very well because I conducted them, you see, back in 1994. And for me, it was such a deja vu to be there or to go to the Imperial Mariinsky Theater. And since they gave me, sort of comp to be in the director's loge or director's box. And so I was sitting there, looking down. And then my friend, composer Yuri Falik, told me, Victor, you may not know, but right here where you are standing, that was when Stravinsky, 11 years old, was brought up by his dad, Fyodor, who was a big bass baritone, okay? And right here, young boy met Tchaikovsky standing right here. And can you believe me standing there and listening to this crap? It's just
Wow.
So talking about reminiscences, well, a young boy was standing here meeting whom? Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky was right there.
Holy cow.
Incredible. That's amazing.
Well, but what can I tell you? It's just all memories are sometimes overwhelming. Anyway, so going back to Shostakovich, Kondrashin resurrected Symphony Number 4 after like 30 years of neglect, and he performed it first time after so many years. And of course, Shostakovich came to just about every rehearsal. Anyway, there is
You
one,
conducted that symphony?
of course,
Yeah.
at least twice or three times. I love that piece. Yeah.
Which is your favorite Shostakovich symphony? Do you have one?
Well, it's with Shostakovich. It's very hard to say because I grew up with the man. I grew up with his music since I was a young boy. I'll never forget how David Oyster gave my dad a piano part for his first violin concerto, which was not yet published. It was like a Xerox of the manuscript, okay? And so Dad started to practice it, and I remember very well loving this Passacaglia, the third movement, which I could play on the piano as a young boy. And I also remember very well the opus number, which was 77 from 1949. However, when this score was published and David Oyster played it with the orchestra, it was not 1949, it was 1953, after death of Stalin. And suddenly, that brought published piano score, which says Opus 99, 1953. And so I thought, don't play games with me, man. I know it's Opus 77 because I saw it. I was a little kid when I tried to play Passacaglia, right? So don't tell me like something. So the smell of politics and art, it's another incredible story. It was not 99 because you see this melody, the four notes which represent D, S, C, H in German, the first notes of Shostakovich's name in German. He used it as a leitmotif, but he used it in the 10th Symphony. And I knew that the concerto was written before 10th Symphony, not after. Don't tell me this crap here. I know how it was. You see?
Isn't it true that am I getting this right, that Shostakovich wrote the concerto for Oistrakh in honor of his 60th birthday, but when he presented it to him, he said, "But I'm only 59"?
I don't know it. I
heard that was the case, and then as a result, the next year he wrote the violin sonata.
No, violin sonata was much later. Yeah.
Okay.
No. If that was the case, you were talking about violin concerto number 2, which is also similar to the time of violin sonata, but that was later.
That might have been it then. Okay.
Yeah, no, that was later, the early 60s. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so here Igor Yusufovich says, Peter, Igor Yusufovich, I can't believe he is there.
He's
You
here.
know,
Igor was my stand partner when he was in high school when I was doing my degree at Catholic University. Okay,
and
all
he
right,
was my
fine.
concert master in Peninsula Music
All right,
Festival.
here we go. He's telling me
Yes,
sipping, no sipping.
Igor, yeah, I think,
Toast. Igor, you better have a shot of vodka in your hand right now because we are now toasting to Igor.
we're going to Igor and Angela and their beautiful girl who is already trained to be assistant conductor.
Okay,
Yeah, this is to Igor.
Igor. Oh my goodness. It's only 5 o'clock here, by the way, so I've got a ways to go.
Yeah.
Very well.
You got a
I'm going to
whole
tell you
day.
about Kirill Kondratyon's repertoire. Of course, we played a lot of music of Shostakovich, but guess what? His favorite symphony was number 8, which is the most tragic symphony. And it certainly became my favorite symphony. Not the 5, not the 7, Leningrad, which is kind of waving Soviet flag up high. Sometimes he did number 9. I lost my interest in number 9. It's like an intermezzo, written maybe to emulate early classical style of Joseph Haydn with a little humor and irony, like that.
What's the one with the ticking clock at the end? We did that at Northwestern. Was it 13? 15?
4 and 15.
We did
Tick
15
clock.
then. We did
Yes.
15. Okay.
Yes.
That's his last, right? His
Yes,
last.
15. Yes. Yeah. And the 4th too. When I did number 4 for the first time, I had a conducting student from Great Britain whose name was David Rowe. He was Welsh, David Rowe, W-R-O-E, if you will, David Rowe. And I hired him to play celeste in the Symphony number 4. And Symphony number 4 is very long. It is the most Mahlerian symphony of Shostakovich, with a great number of references and also ideas which Shostakovich learned from studying Mahler symphonies, which were not performed at all in Soviet Union. But his great friend, musicologist Ivan Solyartinsky, who studied Mahler symphonies, okay, introduced them scores to Shostakovich. And so they played it together and they studied it. And of course, the 4th Symphony of Shostakovich has something to do with Mahler. Anyway, so that 4th Symphony has a very extended coda in C minor. It is just nothing but C minor. And you could hear celeste. Lom, bom, bom, bim, bom, 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 bom. Bom, 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 bim, bom, 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 like this. And that is a picture of night in St. Petersburg. And you see the river Neva, and you see Winter Palace, empty from all dynasty of Romanov, who were not only gone, they were shot, executed by Soviets. The Nicholas II, his wife, 4 daughters, and a young boy, and also people who were with them, you know, they were all shot to death in Siberia. But you see you see this still night in St. Petersburg. Now, St. Petersburg, being on Baltic Sea, did not have any sunny days, very few. So when I think about St. Petersburg, and since I studied conducting there, I know how it looks. It looks just like in United States, it would be look of Seattle, okay? Or Portland, Maine. Clouds, rain, Seattle. It is a dark gray sky, maybe a little bit of wind, or how you say, what is the word for fog?
Fog.
Yeah, yeah. The word for fog in English is fog. Yeah. Anyway, and you see this complete stillness, which represent eternity. And so my former student, David Rowe, was complaining to me about it because he had to sit for almost 50 minutes on stage when I was conducting Fourth Symphony of Shostakovich and play that triad chord on celeste at the very end. He was complaining. Silly boy. That's all I can tell you. Anyway, so that's what I want to tell you about the Shostakovich Fourth Symphony, not Fifth. He never conducted Fifth. No, he hated. The other, but my favorite, let me tell you about myself. My favorite symphony of Shostakovich was number 10. And I will tell you why. When I was about 14 years old, my mother decided to give me a present for my birthday. And that present was 5 rubles. She gave me 5 rubles. And she said, go and buy present for yourself. So I ran to record store and I bought 5 CDs because at that time, the CD was 1 ruble. Okay?
Record,
so,
right?
Yes, long playing record. And I remember buying Beethoven 5. I mean, I was a teenager. What do I know?
Yeah.
I bought Beethoven 5. I bought Tchaikovsky 5 with Bravinsky and the Leningrad Philharmonic Orchestra.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, but I also bought Shostakovich 5 and 10 with Bravinsky and Leningrad Philharmonic Orchestra.
I have
You
those.
see? Yeah, and I think the other one I bought was also, let me think, I think it was Prokofiev 5.
Oh.
Anyway, but what was interesting, I put it on a record player which my father just bought in Prague. He brought with him to Moscow a player which called Supraphone. It was a Czech record player, you know, and so it was a brand new to us. And I put all those CDs on record player. But the problem with the 10th Symphony was I didn't get it. I listened to first movement at least 5 or 6 times. And you know what I did? I decided to have in front of me just a piece of paper like this. And I made a thread of first movement to see the highs and lows so I could figure out what was it. It was very long movement. I couldn't figure it out. And the second movement was extremely short. And the third movement was like nothing else I ever heard before, because it was not minuet, and it was not scherzo, and it was not trio, and it was not a slow movement. What God help me, what the hell was that? You know? But then what happened? I fell in love with that E minor symphony. And I realized that from the moment the ink dried on a manuscript. It became Russian classic right there. It became unbelievable story of Russian life and intellect, and also the flight of Russian cultural society. It was all there. It was all there. Anyway, so what can I tell you? That was number 10.
Wow.
Now I have to have a bite of my pumpernickel
Yes.
bread.
Yes. Well, we're a little over time, but I think that this is okay since this is our season finale. Will, are you able to stay with us a little longer?
I'm great. I'm sort of just taking a lot in. These are
Taking a lot in here. I think it's time for another shot. I think it's time to take a shot for Jen.
Oh my God. You know what? I have a cocktail, but I'm going to take a separate shot for Jen.
You need to
That
take a
sounds
separate
really
shot for
appropriate.
Jen because Jen has produced all 14 of these episodes, Victor. She is our lifeblood.
Can I ask you a personal question here? It's not personal, it's professional. And since we have your assistant here,
Yes.
Since you never stop sharing with me what you conduct, maybe you don't even know it, but I do know it because I read it. I wonder if anybody would ever criticize you for your crazy Russian programming with
Mine?
the yeah.
Never, because I blame
Never?
you. I blame you. I say this is the professor. My favorite piece I think that I ever played under you was probably Tchaikovsky 4, because you well, I have a couple of stories, but that was the one where you come off and you're telling the brass, which these are the brass players at Northwestern are, and Will can appreciate this because he's a fantastic trombone player. The low brass and the high brass playing at Northwestern is all shaped by the Chicago Symphony. Let's face it, because all of the professors there are in the Chicago Symphony. So phenomenal playing. And they come out and they go, ba 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 bum bum be da 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 dun dun da dun da da. And Victor stops them and he says, "No. This beautiful playing is not going to work here in Tchaikovsky 4. You need to think of Siberian winter. You need to play as though your tongue is stuck to a hole in the freezing cold weather. I need to hear the horns coming in. And I'm telling you, the change, I mean, the horns sounded like trumpets all of a sudden. And it was an amazing. And you know what's funny is when I heard the Mravinsky recording on the gramophone of Tchaik 4, it was the same sound you had described. I had to look back at the score to make sure that trumpets didn't start the piece because they were so bright. The horn playing was so laser and bright. It was just amazing. It was amazing. So that was I will never forget that experience. And then the other part was in Tchaik 4, you talked about the where we'd be at the tip of the bow and tap. It was supposed to be the raindrops tinkling. But then my other amazing experience with you, one of many, obviously, but was when we did Rite of Spring, Stravinsky, that you just did the whole thing with no score. Speaking of memorized, and you knew where every rehearsal marking in that score was, and we were you had us wrapped around your finger. It was pretty amazing.
Peter, the only thing I can tell you right now, I'm very sorry about that. It just happened. It's not my fault. Sorry. Sorry. As a matter of fact, since I'm growing now into late 70s, I'm going to be 79 very soon. And you can imagine that when I think about my life, I don't see as many years ahead as I see behind, okay? I see 79 behind. Ahead, I see well, a few, maybe. So I think about reminiscences more and more about what happened and how many stupid mistakes I made in my past. And you know, when we travel through life, and of course, with both Peter and Will and Jen and everybody who is listening, it is the same thing. You go through life and you are at the crossroads and you need to decide, do I take left turn or the right turn? You are at crossroads. You have to make decision, either this or that. You see? And then I read a very important essay, which was written as a result of long research, which was done by two professors, one in Paris and one in Tel Aviv. And so one professor was a mathematician and the other one was psychologist. So they decided to investigate how many times people make a wrong decision when they come to crossroads. Obviously, they investigated many cases. As a result of their research, they came to the conclusion that 80% of humans make wrong decision. 80%, it is 4/5. But they also came to the second conclusion, that by the end of the day, they still finish up where they're supposed to be. How do you like that?
There you go. Well,
so it means that some people take an easy road, some people take hard road. But at the end of the day, they really finished up where they want to be. Isn't that interesting?
You see, I made the mistake of not memorizing my excerpts my senior year, but I still ended up as concertmaster somehow. See, so here's another toast to the forks in the road. And as Yogi Berra said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it.
Okay, here, Will, I'm going to drink your part too.
Oh, thank you so, man, I can't touch you, Victor. Peter, you guys are going the distance. I have a family and little kids, and I have to be up early, and I can't play this game.
This is great.
You two are partying.
Will teaches school music to children, so this is great. In addition to being
not anymore. Tomorrow it'll be a very subdued environment.
Okay, so Victor, I've got to nail you down to this. I want you to choose at least one piece of music.
Yes.
That you changed your interpretation from early on. This was at the end of my last question. So end, there's a piece. It's got to be something like really significant that you've come back to many times, and then you actually changed your approach to the piece, and now you teach it differently, or conduct it differently.
Now, this particular change applies to just about everything I conduct, because you know what happened with a piece of music which you conduct, and then you teach your students, and then you see a student in class conducting this piece, and you think, who was that idiot who told you to do it in 4? It's awful. And then you said, why are you doing it in 4? And the student said, because you told me to do that.
I've had that happen where I've conducted a piece before, and then I've gone back and played in the orchestra.
Yeah.
to a
Yeah.
conductor conducting it in 4, and I've thought to myself, no, that doesn't work. I need it in 2. I need to feel this in 2. And so my continuing to be a player, I've always said, has really informed my conducting, because keeping that perspective. And I'm
Well,
sure that this must have happened to you in Moscow, especially, or Boston, when you were in Boston, right? You
yes,
were watching and
yes, things have changed. For example, Mozart 39, everybody knows Mozart 39. And I grew up in Leningrad school in 8. And then if my student would conduct it in 4, I would give student hard time. But lately I decided, why? Why bother in 8? Doesn't need to be. You know what happened through the years of life in the United States? I came to the conclusion that the intellect of young musicians, their intellect, I'm not talking about talent. Talent is different. It could be a lot of talent, could be very little talent. But their intellect is not compatible to 1960s and 70s of the young last century. No, they know what we're talking about. We don't need to chew the food for them with every
right,
You understand?
because they've already heard it so many times.
Yes, yes. It's just we live in a different world. You're in a different world. You don't need to
So
bother.
what do you think about an overture like Egmont? Like we always thought of it as in 6. Dun, dun, and I had conducted it in 6 to begin, and now I conduct it in 3.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know? So what
Yeah.
I
Well,
think A, it's faster, it should be faster, and B,
yes.
you don't
Yes.
have to
Me
cut
too.
off the release every
And
time,
yes,
right?
me too. Me too. But you see what I use, since I have my own tricks here, because I could conduct in 3, which looks like 6.
Ah.
So I conduct in 3, but I show them, I show them ends of notes the same way. So I would call it subdivided 3.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're right.
But then
And
what about when the winds come in though? Da da dee dee. Are you still in 3?
in 3, of course.
Yeah.
Why? Why? Because see, I know all those guys who are in front of me. They don't need me to poke at them every note. What's the point? No,
Right.
I'm much freer in interpretation, freer to express the phrasing and the mood of the piece rather than being a dispatcher and bring down every note and beat the hell out of every beat.
Yeah.
So I don't do that anymore. Igor Yusufovich says, Peter, no zipping of vodka allowed.
No sipping of vodka.
Yeah.
Joan Durhosepian says, Maestro Yampolsky, my most beloved.
Yes, she's in Houston.
Okay.
Joan is in Houston. She is associate principal cello. No, viola. Sorry, Joan. Viola. Maybe she's a principal now. And her husband is a double bass player, also in Houston. And they have a daughter, Clara, who used to be very little. But you know what happened with little kids? They grow up. And they become big. Just think about your sons. I remember your sons when they were little boys, little kids, just like this.
My youngest, who is 14, is 6'4". He's the tallest. He's taller than his older brothers now. So
it's unbelievable.
He's off to his own thing. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, we should also point out that you are no stranger to Richmond, Virginia, because you've conducted many times.
No, I have such a special place for Richmond because of 2 things. One is the Richmond Symphony, which I conducted quite a few times in my past. And actually I was, I call it runner-up for music director. You could call it, yeah. I almost got it. And the other thing is a Winter Green Music Festival
Yes.
in the Blue Mountains of Virginia. I've been there
Aaron
at least 5 times.
And see, this is particularly appropriate because our very first guest on this show was Aaron Freeman.
Oh, Erin is my former student from Northwestern. You know, she was a soprano major and she sang in a choir at Northwestern University School of Music. So I conducted her when I did choral works. So I know her from very, very long time ago.
So here's a toast to Aaron.
Erin, my darling, wait. You know, I cannot do the empty glass for Erin. Sorry, it cannot
Yes,
be empty glass.
cannot do the empty glass for Aaron.
No.
Aaron and Richmond
Erin Freeman.
and Wintergreen. Indeed.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm learning this Russian way. Do I turn it over?
No, that's
No.
Indiana Jones.
That's
No,
Indiana Jones. Sorry.
no. You see, you know why? Because nobody will get it or appreciate it. Leave it there.
That's right. Well, one of the other things that I learned from you that was so helpful,
Yeah.
and it's just a very general thing, is that in Mozart, fortes in 4, pianos in 2.
Well,
I took that to heart, and that's very,
Yeah.
very
well, it is not
effective.
only the dynamic.
Right.
It is intensity. Da-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-ba-da-ba, pa-pa-pa-di-di-dum, da-da-da-dum. Intensity of music with 16 notes, pulsations in 4 there, solid 4. But in piano, it doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a very strange story which happened to me. When I was playing violin in the Moscow Philharmonic, we used to have summer seasons on the Baltic Sea, Riga shores, Baltic Sea, Zinteri, Maiori. It was our usual summer festival place. And one summer, our music director, Kirill Kondrashin, fell ill. And people didn't know what was wrong with him, but they told him, no conducting anymore. This summer season, you need to get here guest conductors, because we are placing you in recuperation center. You're gonna sit right there and do nothing. Anyway, at that time, I was his assistant. So when I heard about it, I thought, how many weeks it will pass before you will turn to your own assistant? And so the first concert, second, third, fourth, there were guest conductors. And I was sitting, I was on the first stand actually, you know, sitting with Valentin and thinking, when are you going to turn to your own assistant? And lo and behold, suddenly Director of Orchestras said, Victor, the next concert is yours. We don't have any more guest conductors.
Right.
Anyway, you see? So I thought, wow, what's the program? The program is Beethoven Great Fugue, which I suggested to Kondrashin. He never knew about this arrangement, but I suggested to him. The second piece is Prokofiev Violin Concerto number 2 with Valentin Zhuk, who was our concertmaster. And the third piece is a Tchaikovsky Symphony number 3, Polish.
Ah.
Okay. Anyway, so this is your program. And so the time came for me to rehearse my program. So I put my violin down, came to the podium, and conducting my program. But the following program after mine was given to my teacher, Nikolai Rabinovich from St. Petersburg. And that piece was actually Mahler Symphony number 3. Oh. So my concert was Saturday night, his concert was Sunday afternoon. So we rehearsed kind of in between, right? Anyway, so what happened was that both of my teachers were there, Nikolai Semyonovich from St. Petersburg and Kirill Petrovich. And I was in a very bad spot because Kirill Petrovich was of completely different school of conducting. For him, in first movement, tam pa pa para pi pa pam param pa 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 para pa pa para pa pa pam param. That's the first movement. And he would conduct it like that from the beginning to the end, 4/4 time, and fine, good. But Nikolai Semyonovich Rabinovich would never had it. He would say, Victor, the second tune is in two ta la ra ri, la ra ra ram ta ra ra ra, la ri ra ta ra ra ri ra ra. That's just typical Tchaikovsky, right? Anyway, so I'm conducting my rehearsal, and with the corner of my eye, I'm looking. Who is watching? Is Kondrashin in the hall or is it Rabinovich? You see?
Oh, wow.
Because as soon as I saw Rabinovich, I went, and then suddenly I see Kondrashin with a cane. You know, he was homebound, right?
Oh.
But he decided to come. And suddenly I say, what?
I love it. Oh, that's such a great story. There's a video. There are these videos out. There are two. I have them on. You're gonna laugh. I have them on Laserdisc. The Art of Conducting. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
And there's the story about the timpanist from the Berlin Philharmonic. And I can't remember who I think he couldn't remember who was on the podium, but somebody was conducting on the podium, and he was a wannabe conductor. So the timpanist during the rests was sitting in the back looking at the score, and he noticed that the entire orchestra, the sound had changed completely, you know, for no particular reason. And he looked up to see what was going on, and he saw in the very, very back of the hall at the door was Furtwängler standing at the door. And
I had the same story.
You know?
I had the same story at Northwestern. You will never believe that.
Oh, tell it.
I had exactly the same story. Anyway, so that was a story of the first year of Daniel Barenboim, who came to Chicago. And I was called to meet with him, and he asked me to be in charge of Civic Orchestra
Yes,
of Chicago.
I remember this.
Yeah. Anyway, so, but since Daniel Barenboim, he never saw me before, and it was suggested to him. He asked me, what are you conducting now? And I said, I'm conducting War Requiem by Britten. Okay, so I'm conducting rehearsal of War Requiem by Britten at Pigstager Hall with a choir and everybody. And the rehearsal went really well. And I even told my guys, you never played like that before. And my assistant, Claudia, do you remember Claudia, Claudia Lazarev, Mironov?
Yes, yeah, violist.
Yeah. So she was my assistant, administrative. Yeah. And I said to her, Claudia, I can't believe, I love this rehearsal. They played so beautifully for me. And she said, you know why? Because Daniel Barenboim came and sat for 25 minutes right there in the hall.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it.
So there is always story for anything. Yeah.
Well, Victor, I cannot thank you enough for being here. We must have you back as a guest. I think that we could explore so many other things.
It will be my pleasure.
But as our season finale, I cannot think of a better host, a better guest, and you've been fantastic. Thank you for coming on. It's so great to see you. And please give my love to Carol.
Of course, she's 3 stories high, you know, up there. Yeah.
And again, many thanks to Jen and Will. It's great to see you as always. Thank you so much. And
Wonderful to see you and wonderful to meet you. Congratulations to all of you. And I hope we'll see each other soon.
yes,
Absolutely.
okay. So to all of our guests and all of our visitors here, viewers watching, thank you so much for joining us on Cocktails with Conductors, our season finale episode 14 with Victor Yampolsky, the maestro. Take care, everyone, and good night.
Take care. Good night. Yeah.